Gerald Wilkins was an elite athlete like his older brother and Hall of Famer Dominique Wilkins, constantly being a threat at the rim for a thunderous dunk, whether from blowing past the defender on a drive or slashing to the rim. Though inconsistency with his offensive game held him back from being a star player, but when his shot was on, he was more than tough to handle. However, Wilkins was always tough on the defensive side of the ball, taking on the toughest matchups each night, slowing down the other team's best player, starting his career with the New York Knicks, finding himself quickly being a steal of the draft, developing into Patrick Ewing's right-hand man within the offense, helping turn the Knicks back into playoff contenders, before heading to Cleveland, where he'd be brought in to be the Jordan stopper. As the Cavaliers hoped, Wilkins would be the final piece to get them past the Chicago Bulls, creating a lot of media hype playing into the role as well. Though things, as one would know, did not go ideal for Gerald Wilkins, as there's no one who can stop Jordan, but he was able to make it more difficult than most for Michael, despite the gaudy numbers and sweeping the Cavaliers in the series. Not long afterwards, Gerald Wilkins picked up an Achilles injury, taking away some of his athleticism and aggression, which he relied upon to succeed, ending his career playing for the expansion Grizzlies before joining the Magic as they retooled after losing Shaq, even getting the chance to play with his brother Dominique Wilkins for Orlando to end his career. This is a look back on Gerald Wilkins' career. Gerald Wilkins was born in Atlanta, Georgia, moving a lot as a youth, being the younger brother to NBA Hall of Famer Dominique Wilkins, who was playing basketball on the regular growing up. Gerald, on the other hand, had no interest in basketball for most of his youth and never playing it until the second year of high school, where he attended Washington High in Washington, North Carolina. While at Washington, though, Wilkins couldn't crack the starting rotation as he was still catching up to his peers. Then Gerald Wilkins moved his senior year back to Atlanta to attend Southwest High. At Southwest, Gerald Wilkins would blossom on the court to average 28 points and 10 rebounds, impressing enough to find himself headed to play JUCO basketball for Moberly Area Community College in Moberly, Missouri, his freshman year of college. Wilkins wouldn't be at Moberly for long as he dominated the competition in his lone season there, becoming a sought-after recruit at the D1 level, ultimately deciding to transfer out and attend Chattanooga. Wilkins was joining a Mocs team that had just made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament behind future NBA player Willie White, who Gerald Wilkins' sophomore year would play second fiddle to, averaging 12.6 points, 3.8 rebounds, and 1.5 steals per game, helping Chattanooga go 26-4, winning both the regular season and tournament championship for the conference, getting the Mocs into the NCAA tournament as the 9 seed to face Maryland round 1. The game ended up being a rather closely contested contest as Adrian Branch from Maryland found his groove and Willie White struggled to get it going, seeing the Mocs hold the lead late barely before Lynn Bias with 3 seconds left sent Chattanooga home on a jumper. Wilkins ended the game having 11 points and 6 rebounds. The following season, Chattanooga and Gerald Wilkins had increased expectations, and Wilkins delivered, stealing the shine from White even at times to average 17.3 points and 4 rebounds, earning second-team all-conference honors. However, the team as a whole couldn't capture last season's success, finishing second in the Southern Conference, missing the NCAA tournament. After this season, Willie White graduated, making Chattanooga Gerald Wilkins' team for his senior season. With an increased role, Wilkins stepped up to average 21 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 1.8 steals, making first-team all-conference, guiding the Mocs back to the conference regular season championship. However, they'd get upset in the conference tournament, causing Chattanooga to miss the NCAA tournament, ending Gerald Wilkins' career in college after a brief NIT run. By this point, Gerald Wilkins has made a name for himself, starting to emerge from the shadow of his brother Dominique, gaining serious draft considerations, with teams liking his athleticism, aiding Wilkins in being a great slasher to the rim or driving to the hoop. On top of his defense, which was NBA ready, stifling many people in the college level nightly, yet concerns with how efficient his jump shot could be lowered Gerald Wilkins' stock to a second-round draft pick. In the 1985 NBA draft, with the 47th overall pick, Gerald Wilkins was drafted by the New York Knicks. Wilkins was joining a Knicks team that had been struggling but had new hope after adding fellow rookie and first overall pick in the NBA draft, Patrick Ewing, to be the team's new star. Gerald Wilkins would have to earn his time on the court compared to Ewing and would slowly work his way into the starting lineup at shooting guard to the surprise at most, considering he was a second-round pick, ending Wilkins' rookie season averaging 12.5 points and 2.6 rebounds, with the highlight on the year being competing for the slam dunk contest, making it to round 2. On the other hand, the Knicks as a whole did not have too many highlights themselves this year, going 23-59, missing the playoffs as they had missed their stars in Bernard King and Bill Cartwright with injury. Next year, King remained injured for the majority of the year, creating a chance for Gerald Wilkins to continue to grow and get touches within the Knicks offense. Wilkins continued to improve with the opportunity given, becoming a key contributor on the team and the second option offensively to Ewing, averaging 19.1 points, 4.4 assists, and 3.7 rebounds, earning Gerald Wilkins multiple Most Improved Player votes. Personal highlights in the year for Wilkins included setting a career high with 43 points against the New Jersey Nets and competing in the slam dunk contest again. Yet the Knicks, like the year prior, did not have many highlights, going 24-58, missing the playoffs again. After another poor year, the Knicks improved in the NBA draft, selecting Mark Jackson to run the point. Gerald Wilkins found himself continuing in his role as the Knicks' second leading scorer, averaging 17.4 points to go with 4 assists and 3.3 rebounds, helping the Knicks pull together a 38-44 record, being just enough to make the playoffs as the 8th seed, creating a round 1 series with a loaded Celtics team that starred Larry Bird, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, Dennis Johnson, and Danny Ainge. Whereas one would expect, the Celtics took it to the young Knicks team, defeating them comfortably 3-1, despite a strong series from Gerald Wilkins, who was the Knicks' leading scorer, averaging 20 points, 4.8 assists, and 2 rebounds over it. In the offseason, the Knicks steadily kept improving, trading Bill Cartwright for Charles Oakley, providing the Knicks with some new toughness. However, the Knicks' young core improving meant less touches within the offense for Wilkins, as Jackson demanded the ball more and Johnny Newman took on a larger role as well, reducing Gerald Wilkins' numbers to 14.3 points, 3.4 assists, and 3 rebounds. But now he was a key contributor on a playoff contender after the Knicks finished the season with the 52-30 record, earning the 2 seed in a round 1 matchup with the Philadelphia 76ers and Charles Barkley. The Knicks would take Game 1 as Wilkins took over for a game-high 34 points, which they rode the momentum from to a 2-0 series lead before sweeping the 76ers Game 3, winning late after going into overtime where Gerald Wilkins played the hero, hitting the game-winning jump shot, winning the Knicks the game as Barkley failed to respond at the buzzer, in a game that saw Wilkins finish with 22 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. Round 2, the Knicks faced the Chicago Bulls, led by Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Horace Grant. The Knicks were technically the higher seed by a fair amount, but the other team did have Michael Jordan, seeing Jordan almost single-handedly send the Knicks home 4-2. Gerald Wilkins couldn't duplicate the same form he had from the prior series, as he expended more energy on the defensive end guarding Michael Jordan to the best of his capabilities, though still providing several good games, with his personal best being Game 5 as he had 17 points and 10 assists. Gerald Wilkins had ended the postseason averaging 16.1 points, 4.7 assists, and 3.7 rebounds. Next season, Gerald Wilkins continued to play a similar role to the year prior, averaging 14.5 points, 4 assists, and 4.5 rebounds, for a Knicks team that couldn't quite duplicate last year's success, as Oakley missed some time with injury, going 45-37, making the playoffs as a 5 seed. Round 1, the Knicks got the Boston Celtics again in the playoffs, who were declining due to age but had some new life now in Reggie Lewis. Boston would jump out early on the Knicks, winning the first 2 games comfortably behind Bird and McHale, appearing to still have the Knicks' number. With their backs against the wall, the Knicks would do the improbable, rallying behind Patrick Ewing as his play improved to superstar level, carrying the Knicks, stunning the Celtics 3 straight games, earning a trip to round 2, with Wilkins aiding throughout, in particular in Game 4 with 20 points and 7 assists. Round 2, the Knicks faced the bad boy Detroit Pistons with Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, Joe Dumars, Vinnie Johnson, Dennis Rodman, and Mark Aguirre. Ewing continued his strong form this series, but he did not get much support as the Pistons were a deeper team, winning the series 4-1, eventually going on to win the NBA championship this season. Wilkins did provide some aid, scoring 24 points Game 2 and 18 points Game 5, yet this could not negate his bad games like Game 1 where he only scored 2 points. Over the postseason as a whole, Gerald Wilkins was inconsistent, sometimes being the perfect second man to Ewing, while the other times struggling to even get it going, much like the regular season, finishing the postseason averaging 14.6 points, 5.2 assists, and 3.6 rebounds. In the offseason, the Knicks would improve through free agency, adding a hidden gem in John Starks. Gerald Wilkins continued on in the starting shooting guard role, averaging 13.8 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds, yet missed some time only suiting up for 68 games. Kiki Vandeweghe in his absence would step up, but the rest of the team outside of Ewing seemed to be on a decline or in a funk, seeing the Knicks go 39-43, dropping back to the 8th seed for the playoffs, where round 1 they met the Chicago Bulls again, who had only gotten better since their last meeting as Michael Jordan was now the face of the sport and Pippen had developed. Behind MJ, the Bulls swept the Knicks out of the playoffs without much of a fight before going on to win a ring this season. Gerald Wilkins against the Bulls only got one start and played reduced minutes as the sixth man, seeing his averages decrease to 10.7 points, 1.7 assists, and 2.7 rebounds. In the offseason, the Knicks knew they needed to shake things up after a disappointing year, so they brought in Xavier McDaniel and Anthony Mason to bolster the team, on top of the addition of Pat Riley as the new head coach. Under Riley, Gerald Wilkins remained a starter, but had lost minutes to the ever-improving Starks and McDaniel, causing a dip in Wilkins' numbers to 12.4 points, 2.7 assists, and 2.5 rebounds. But on the bright side, the Knicks had found their form again, going 51-31, entering the playoffs as a 4 seed, getting a series with the bad boy Detroit Pistons again, who were showing signs of decline. The series was close at times, but the Knicks ultimately seemed more energized and tougher, out-physicaling the Pistons to a 3-2 series win, in a series that saw Wilkins not do a whole lot of scoring. However, he did a good job on the defensive end, slowing down Dumars being a big part for the Knicks advancing to round 2, where they would meet again the Chicago Bulls. But this time was different, as the Knicks went toe-to-toe with them, as they relied on their physicality to keep them in games, being tied up after 4 games. Then seeing Jordan push the Bulls to a Game 5 victory, negating Wilkins' best offensive game of the series with 19 points, putting the Knicks on the verge of elimination. In Game 6, the Knicks staved off elimination after Wilkins held Jordan to 21 points on 36% shooting, forcing a Game 7, where, to no surprise, Michael Jordan bounced back, sending the Knicks home in a blowout. The playoffs as a whole saw Gerald Wilkins not do a whole lot of scoring, only averaging 8.9 points, 3.8 assists, and 2.5 rebounds. However, each series he took on great defensive matchups, managing to slow down Joe Dumars, sending the Knicks to round 2, where Wilkins had some success, somewhat slowing down Michael Jordan at times. In the offseason, Gerald Wilkins was a free agent and saw himself losing more time on the court to Starks, so he decided to leave in free agency, joining the Cleveland Cavaliers, who featured Mark Price, Brad Daugherty, and Larry Nance, a core that saw the Cavaliers continually making the playoffs before getting knocked out by Michael Jordan, with Wilkins being looked upon as the last piece to get past Jordan and the Bulls, being labeled as the Jordan Stopper, a nickname Gerald Wilkins would play into for better or worse. Wilkins' role for the Cavaliers would be, was one anticipated, to take on tough defensive matchups and provide complementary scoring here and there, with Gerald Wilkins averaging 11.1 points, 2.3 assists, and 2.7 rebounds in year 1 with the Cavs, as he came off the bench for Mike Sanders or Craig Elo, often as the Cavaliers' 7th man, as they used Hot Rod Williams in the 6-man role. Gerald Wilkins had helped the Cavaliers remain competitive for another season, going 54-28, making the playoffs as the 3 seed, meeting the New Jersey Nets round 1 featuring Derek Coleman and Drazen Petrovic, in a series which most gave the Cavaliers a considerable edge as Kenny Anderson was out with injury. However, Derek Coleman proved to be a problem, forcing the series to go the distance to Game 5 before the Cavaliers put the Nets away behind Daugherty, in a series that did not see much offensive production from Gerald Wilkins. Yet on the defensive end, he played great, slowing down Drazen Petrovic to 7 less points per game than that what he was averaging in the regular season, causing many to hype up the next round matchup as Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls were around the corner, with more thinking Gerald Wilkins might actually be the Jordan stopper, or at least slow him down, helping the Cavaliers finally get past the Bulls. Game 1, though, Michael Jordan quickly shut down any of those notions, going for a game-high 43 points, defeating the Cavaliers, even stating, "He can't guard me," to Wilkins, in a game that saw Wilkins even lead the Cavs in scoring with 19 points, but this was quickly overshadowed by his defense. Game 2, Gerald Wilkins bounced back on the defensive end after getting destroyed in the media for being the Jordan stopper, holding MJ to 18 points. However, the Cavaliers couldn't take advantage of the situation, dropping the second game in a row. Game 3, with their backs against the wall, the Cavaliers switched up the lineup, moving Wilkins into the starting role, with him responding by having 16 points. Yet this seemed to egg on Jordan, who proceeded to have 32, defeating the Cavaliers again, setting up the Cavaliers to get swept Game 4, which ended up being a closely competitive game as Gerald Wilkins went for 22 points, his biggest points being a 3 late to put the Cavaliers up 1. Time was left on the clock though, and everyone knows where the ball was going to go in Michael Jordan, creating a one-on-one between Jordan and Wilkins to decide the game and the series. Wilkins would play good defense, forcing a contested fadeaway on the final possession, but Jordan did what Jordan does best, coming up clutch, hitting a tough shot at the buzzer to defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Over the playoffs, Gerald Wilkins had played well on the defensive side of the ball, but there was simply no slowing down Michael Jordan like he had Petrovic round 1, not living up to the nickname the Jordan Stopper, even though Michael Jordan later credited Wilkins for playing good defense on him throughout, but simply put, there is no stopping Jordan. Gerald Wilkins had ended the postseason averaging 10.3 points and 2.7 assists. Next season, Gerald Wilkins was moved into the starting lineup, increasing his output from the year prior to average 14.3 points, 3.1 assists, and 3.7 rebounds for a Cavaliers team that was banged up, missing Nance and Doherty for a significant amount of time, causing the Cavs to slip to a 47-35 record, making the playoffs the 6th seed, getting another matchup with the Chicago Bulls, but this time they no longer had Michael Jordan as he retired to play baseball. Yet the Cavaliers would also be a worse team this series compared to the prior, missing Doherty, Nance, and Williams with injury, causing the Cavaliers to get swept rather easily thanks to Scottie Pippen's play, despite Gerald Wilkins' best efforts as he had stepped up in the absences to be the Cavaliers' leading scorer at 20 points per game to go with 4.3 rebounds and 3.3 assists, even having a game-high 28 points Game 2, though all his efforts were not enough. After the season, Larry Nance retired, and unbeknownst at the time, Brad Daugherty's NBA career was over with a back injury, creating a larger role within the offense next season for Gerald Wilkins. However, Wilkins never got the chance to seize the opportunity as he ruptured his Achilles before the start of the season, having to miss the entire year. Watching from the sidelines, the Cavaliers made it back to the playoffs and got knocked out round 1 by his old team in the Knicks. In the offseason, the NBA had added the Vancouver Grizzlies and the Toronto Raptors, triggering an expansion draft, which saw the Cavaliers leave Gerald Wilkins unprotected after his injury, resulting in the Vancouver Grizzlies selecting Gerald Wilkins. The Grizzlies had hoped Gerald Wilkins could bounce back from the Achilles injury, yet it was clear after playing in a limited number of games upon his return, Wilkins lacked the athleticness and aggression he once had, suiting up for only 28 games to average 6.7 points, 2.4 assists, and 2.3 rebounds for a Grizzlies team that was at the bottom of the league as most expansion teams are year 1, going 15-67. In the off-season, after Gerald Wilkins did not return to form for the Grizzlies, they decided to release him, making Wilkins a free agent. As a free agent, Gerald Wilkins would sign on with the Orlando Magic. Wilkins was joining a Magic team that had just lost Shaq in free agency, looking to remain competitive with the core of Penny Hardaway, Horace Grant, Nick Anderson, Ronnie Cycli, and Dennis Scott. Gerald Wilkins went on to have a healthy year, carving out a role as Orlando's sixth man, averaging 10.6 points, 2.2 assists, and 2.2 rebounds, helping the Magic to a 45-37 record, making the playoffs as the 7th seed, to face off against the Miami Heat, headed by the duo of Tim Hardaway and Alonzo Mourning. The Magic entered as big underdogs as Horace Grant was out with an injury, correlating and dropping the first 2 games of the series, before rattling off 2 victories, tying the series up as Penny Hardaway was going off in the emergence of Darrell Armstrong, which ended up pushing Wilkins to the 7th man, but was still producing at his normal rate to about 8 to 12 points per game. But Cycli picked up an injury, missing Game 4 and subsequently Game 5, hurting the team as Alonzo Mourning took advantage, winning the game and the series for the Miami Heat. Against the Heat, Gerald Wilkins had played well in a reduced role as Armstrong emerged, maintaining a similar output with 9.4 points and 1.8 rebounds per game. Next season, the Magic had hoped to bounce back, even trading Dennis Scott for Derek Harper, but Penny Hardaway picked up an injury early into the season, drastically hurting the team, sparking a rebuild, seeing Ronnie Cycli being traded away as well. On top of almost the whole entire Magic roster battling some form of injury throughout the year. Though Gerald Wilkins remained healthy for 72 games in a reduced role off the bench, averaging 5.3 points, 1.3 rebounds, and 1.1 assists, for a Magic team that went 41-41, missing the playoffs due to all the injury problems. In the offseason, Orlando got healthy for the lockout-shortened season and had acquired Gerald Wilkins' brother and Dominique Wilkins, giving Gerald and Dominique their first chance to suit up together, as Gerald Wilkins did not play with Dominique growing up. However, there was not much time on the floor for Gerald Wilkins this season, as his role was reduced as the team got healthy and battled a couple injuries of his own, only suiting up for 3 games to average 0.7 points. But at least Gerald had gotten the chance to play with Dominique, as the Magic played well, going 33-17 on the year, making the playoffs the 3 seed, meeting Allen Iverson in the 76ers round 1, who'd upset the Magic, cementing Iverson as a superstar in a series that saw Gerald Wilkins not play in any of the games. And coincidingly, Wilkins was waived in the offseason, thus ending his 13-year NBA career. Gerald Wilkins had ended his 13-year NBA career with averages of 13 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 3 assists. Wilkins afterwards went on to raise his son Damian Wilkins, who also went on to have a successful NBA career, and his daughter Jasmine, who finished 4th in Miss USA. Though his post-playing career has not all been highs, having several run-ins with the law overshadowing what was once a great playing career, as Gerald Wilkins had managed to work his way out of Dominique's shadow after picking up the game of basketball late in life, going to college for 4 years, steadily developing before getting drafted by the Knicks in the 2nd round, being a steal for them, as he quickly became the starting shooting guard starring alongside Ewing, showcasing his athleticism, helping him be a constant threat at the rim, whether from slashing or driving, though spent most of his career being streaky offensively like his shot, but always earned time on the floor playing stifling defense on the opponent's best guard, helping the Knicks make it to the playoffs several times before heading to Cleveland to be the Cavaliers' Jordan stopper and final piece to get past the Bulls. Although he did not quite live up to the label, ending up playing Jordan, which was impossible to stop come playoffs, defeating the Cavs again. Gerald Wilkins played 1 more year in Cleveland before an injury to the Achilles took away his athleticism and aggression, eventually taking on a smaller role to end his career playing for the Grizzlies and Magic, even getting a chance to suit up with his brother Dominique for a year, before hanging them up, calling it a career, one that will go down as his respected threat in his prime on both ends of the floor. Thanks for watching this video on Gerald Wilkins' career. If you want to see any other videos about any other random players, leave them in the comments below, and I may or may not decide to do them. Who knows? Thanks again for watching. This has been Skid Denver.